Hi, this is Billie Beene here with a U.S. News update. Today's date is January 8, 2024, time about 7 a.m. in Texas, episode 115. Some of the things we'll be covering: U.S. blizzard, Earth's wobble, 2024 Ballot plus, U.S. government, a plan to poison the U.S. municipal water systems? Say it isn't so. And Miami, that recent story about the ETs and the involvement of black helicopters. Some of my sources are God in the Bible, Patriot subscribers, Suspicious Observers, EARTHMASTER, Lost Age Secrets, Benjamin Fulford, Cliff High, Steve Quayle, Daily Mail, Zero Hedge, BeForeItSNEWS, Atlas Shrugged, The Defender, plus. So let's get started. I'd like to say thank you to Carolyn G, Roses and Rags, and Becky D for support of my channel. And I have a Patriot subscriber talking about a Walmart. She had sent some information in about a recent empty Walmart with a pickleball court now, and she gave the location as Guilford, Connecticut. I have another Patriot subscriber talking about in Texas, along the border of Bastrop and Smithville, there had been a monkey lab located there, and the water system it used was the Colorado River. Now, her understanding is it's been closed down. So that's going on. Now, we'll begin with the weather and Earth's wobble, which I believe is at the prompting of God. That's what I'm concentrating on in ongoing news updates. So let's draw, first of all, a map. So we've got the U.S., Texas, California. So we've got this going on. California. Now, Suspicious Observers is bringing this out. The sun is quiet with regard to CMEs and flares, but Ben Davidson with Suspicious Observers, I'll link his video, also brought this out about the Chandler wobble. And so I'll go into this a little bit because I think we're going to be seeing some effects upon the Earth, Earth tilt, Earth wobble. So the Chandler wobble was discovered in 1891, and it has to do with the Earth and the core and the oceans, the movement of water upon the Earth. And in the core, we have this also. So we have the axis of the Earth that's distinct from the tilt of the Earth and distinct from the geomagnetic lines. This is just the axis of the Earth. So the Chandler wobble is a movement of the Earth around the core of the Earth at a 1 degree difference. Now, the tilt of the Earth also contributes to our weather systems, temperatures, a lot of things. So it's off 1 degree, or about 9 meters, or about 30 feet. Now, the thing about the wobble, which happens every 8.5 years, is it's been absent since 2015. Now, Ben Davidson and other scientists don't know why this Chandler wobble of the Earth has changed. I submit to you it's because we're having huge changes in the solar system around the Earth. Euphemistically called Planet X, but something's coming into our solar system, affecting the solar system, affecting the Earth. So that's going on. And now we'll look at the weather. So we're having, and I submit this wobble and the movement of the Earth. So we saw the Earth, and we've seen at the North Pole, we saw a warming of this area, which led to a release of a polar vortex, very cold temperatures coming down. And this is what we're seeing in the U.S. along the East Coast, along the Plains area, along the Northwest. We're seeing impacts. Also in Texas, somewhere along here, along the U.S. Gulf Coast in this area. We're seeing very cold temperatures, and we're seeing heavy rain. So that's going on. Now we have this from WPIX on January 7. For 24 hours, the snowplow was active in Orange County or Chester, New York, where they had 12 inches or 1 foot of snow. And we saw a few days ago in Pittsburgh, we saw temperatures on Friday below 26 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, we have also information from BPEARTHWATCH. I'll link his video for you, giving information about different parts of the U.S. that are as much as 57 degrees below average. And on the U.S. East Coast, here in New York, Boston, we've had snow and blizzard coming in. So it was predicted 5 to 8 inches or 6 to 12 inches. And we're seeing we did get the 12 inches in the New York East Coast areas. Now we have this. So before the U.S. received this blizzard, we had it going on in Asia and Europe before it moved down to the U.S. So in Sweden, we had the coldest temperature in 25 years on January 3, which was a minus 44 degrees Celsius, which would be a minus 47 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm bringing this out to indicate that we're having huge impacts on the Earth from space, and we're experiencing a change in global weather. It first affected Asia and Europe. Now it's moved to the U.S. In Finland, they had a cold snap, minus 39 degrees Celsius, or which would be a minus 39 degrees Fahrenheit. In Sweden and Finland, a few days ago, everything stopped because it was so cold, trains and buses. So we're seeing an impact on transportation with a decrease in cold temperatures, much different than areas are used to dealing with. So we've got that going on. Now we'll look at some things that are going on geologically, because this impact from space also impacts us geologically up on the Earth with volcanoes and earthquakes. So we're seeing in Yellowstone, and this is from EARTHMASTER and also Mary Greeley, that we've had a swarm of small earthquakes That happened January 6th. And the USGS in Yellowstone. So EARTHMASTER couldn't tell if there was actually a swarm of earthquakes or if there were heavy storms in Yellowstone. So he contacted USGS and they said, no, it's a swarm of earthquakes. 3s are going on. And we're also seeing, so we have down here Australia, New Zealand. So we have things going on in New Zealand also. When the U.S. is experiencing an increase in earthquakes, we can look to other parts of the world because the vibrations travel through the earth. So if we know what's going on in other areas of the world, we can better predict the impact on the U.S. Now we also have, so we have China, and then we've got Japan, where we know we had a recent that was a 7.6. So some things are going on there. So in New Zealand, they're having 5s, 5.7, 5.5. That was on January 7. Japan is still experiencing aftershocks. And this part of the world, the earthquakes are then impacting. So we've got Mexico down to Central America. We've got South America. And over here, we've got the Cosco's Plate, which affects the San Andreas fault line. And we're seeing things going on there. And yeah. And so we've had activity in South America affecting the Cosco's Plate with 4s going on, which have also impacted the New Madrid area of the U.S., and we're having 1s to 2s in this area. And this is what I would expect to see. Activity here, then activity here, then the Cosco's, the San Andreas, and the New Madrid. It's all in the prediction models. So we see that going on. And now we have this, some new information about Japan. And this is coming out from, so we have Japan. We know on January 1, they had a 7.6 earthquake. Now, the University of Tokyo, using satellites to look at Japan, has said the earth moved up 13 feet and moved sideways 3 feet during the earthquake. Now, AP is stating that there are 2,000 missing. Currently, the death toll is about up to 120, with public records saying 500 to 1,000 injured. But I found it curious that I only could find one reference, AP, with the 2,000 missing. We do know upwards of 20 to 30,000 have moved out of this area, and they're still experiencing aftershocks. And now this from Yahoo News. New beaches. So there are new beaches in Japan that are 820 feet long. So we have new beaches. And they're also talking about the University of Tokyo. So it moved up 13 feet or 4 meters. So that's going on. And now we have this. Lost Age Secrets, Keith Hunter, who predicts earthquakes based on the movement of stars, as does Stan Deyo, a physicist, is talking about this earthquake, and alleging the earthquake could have been due to a directed energy weapon or a scalar weapon put through the earth. Yeah. Now, my take on this, and I've used the same reasoning for the Morocco earthquake that was a few months ago, is that I believe the stars move that indicates a spot upon the earth that's going to experience an earthquake, and then I believe the deep state does juice it up with directed energy or scalar waves when they have a political difference with the geographic area. Now, Japan, according to Benjamin Fulford, they recently had an Osprey accident, a small island here off the large island of Japan. And in that crash, 5 were killed, 2 from one elite family in Japan, 2 from another elite family, and 1 individual who was to be the next emperor of Japan. That's because the ruling families in Japan are taking issue and changing their agreements with the Rothschild Davos elite family groups. So that's going on. And now we have this. So, yeah. So we have other things going on. So we see geologic things going on in the U.S. And there was the USGS issued a warning for California last weekend for earthquake activity. So it is good to have a plan, a communication plan, a go bag if you live in this area, because I expect to see increased earthquake activity. It's not just me, I'm basing it on experts, that would impact the Cosco's plate and then turn on the San Andreas fault line and bring on the big one, the 8 or 9 that California's been looking for. Now, I would recommend the movie San Andreas. I believe when it first came out, I read that the movie San Andreas did include the latest in science modeling for what would happen to Los Angeles, San Francisco during the big one. So it's good to watch. Okay, now we have this from CNN. Over the last week, I believe it was, there were 23 state capitals that received a threat letter. CNN obtained the letter as stating that they had planted explosives in the Capitol buildings. Now, 6 states evacuated their Capitol building and did a search. And that was in Mississippi, in Kentucky, in Georgia, in Connecticut, in Michigan, and in Minnesota. Now, I submit when these things come out, I take them to be practice, and that many of the government and U.S. military and other groups know what's coming in the future. So we can look to see, are we seeing something in the happen in the future? Mississippi, Georgia, Connecticut, Kentucky, Michigan, Minnesota. We'll see. And now we have this. All right. So I'm going to cover a different topic now. This will be with regarding President Trump. And we know recently we heard that Colorado State Supreme Court, 4 out of 7 of their judges took President Trump off of the ballot. Now we know from Real Raw News that 2 out of 4 of the judges who voted to do this have been arrested. And now we get this, and I brought that out on a previous video. The Colorado Supreme Court, after the decision was made, said that it would stand unless by January 5, the U.S. Federal Supreme Court took it up or said it couldn't stand. On January 5, the U.S. Federal Supreme Court did take it up, and they will make a decision by February 8. And once they make a decision, it will apply then across the U.S. to all states, including the state of Maine, where the unelected Secretary of State just said President Trump can't be on the ballot. No, that doesn't go along with the Constitution nor any law, federal, state, or local. So that's going on. And now we have some information coming out from the presidential election in 2020. So we have audits that have been done in the states. And example, Georgia in Fulton County. And I'm just going to highlight some of the discrepancies that are coming out. And it says there's no digital record kept and maintained. They have to be kept at least 22 months after the election, but they disappeared within about 2 to 3 days. So no digital record was kept of the voting. 90% of the mail-ins cannot be verified, and 100,000 of the mail-in ballots in Fulton County, Georgia, for the 2020 presidential election had the same timestamp, 100,000. Boom, 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 boom. And Berkeley, Professor Philip Stark, who invented risk audits, says the records that do exist for Fulton County, Georgia, and for the whole state of Georgia indicate that the records are not intact. They cannot be used to give a verifiable audit. So the state of Georgia, particularly in Fulton County, Georgia, did something with the records. And also this, days before the election, Fulton County ordered 1 million mail-in ballots and no envelopes. Well, I guess that might go along with the 100,000 mail-in ballots that had the same date stamp on them. And also this, in the whole state of Georgia, over 364,000 votes that were looked at in this audit were ineligible, either not on the voter rolls or had some other kind of discrepancies, like, dead. Okay, now we have this in Wisconsin. The Supreme Court of Wisconsin, the state Supreme Court, says it's against the law in Wisconsin to use drop boxes, but Election Commissioner Megan Wolf used drop boxes with no surveillance record, and thousands of votes obtained this way are not legal. And now we have this in Pennsylvania. 121,000 votes were cast that are not on voter rolls. So we see some things are coming out. Now we have this in Arizona. in Maricopa and Pinal counties. Discrepancies. These are their two largest counties. They accepted mail-in ballots days after the election, which is illegal according to Arizona state law. 420,000 could not be verified on voter rolls. The voter logs, the records were deleted. And according to Walter Doherty, Professor Emeritus of Texas A&M in the Computer Science Department, says his review shows that there was strong control over the vote count. And in Michigan, we see that they had counted, 68,000 more votes than are on voter rolls. So we see information is coming out that there were indeed voter discrepancies. Excuse me. And now we'll look at this. Oh yeah. This has to do with the C virus, pharma for the arm. New information coming out. Excuse me. Steve Connolly, a retired disabled vet who was a retired social worker, was alarmed by the number of friends and family who were suddenly dropping dead. So he did research on thousands of deaths, and he was looking for this sudden and unexpected deaths. And this is what he found. Excuse me. That, yeah. So he could show, according to a graph, that he said also corroborates the statistical analysis done by Ed Dowd, formerly with BlackRock, an economist who's been delving into research here. It also corroborates information coming out from Dr. John Campbell, PhD nursing prof in England, about excess deaths in the UK and other nations. So this has to do with the US. So we have 2020, we have 2021, and 2022, looking at deaths that involve the descriptors sudden and unexpected. In 2020, it was 4,9058. In 2021, 7,9858. And in 2022, 7,045.96. So we see a dramatic increase here. So this is about 49,000. This is about 80,000. This is about 75,000. So we see 49,000, 80,000, and 75,000. So we see a peak from 2020 here and here. So we are able to document on a graph an increase in the number of deaths. Now recently, Zero Hedge reported an interview by Tucker Carlson and Brett Weinstein, a biologist, who says globally there's been an increase in deaths of 17 million. Now, inside the U.S., in previous videos, I have put out that information that was first brought out by Jim Lilly, PhD economist in Costa Rica, and I was able to verify it personally inside the U.S. Insurance Agency that in 2021 to 2022, there had been an increase by 40% of claims for life insurance, primarily for an age group of 25 to 45. So we have documented evidence in multiple areas from multiple disciplines supporting the fact that in the U.S. and globally there has been an increase in deaths since this was implemented. So that's going on. And now we'll get to this. So all this evidence is coming out, and the U.S. people, the U.S., the number getting the pharma for the arm for the C virus has gone down. Well, the deep state's not going to let that stop them. Now I'll cover already prob harder. Dr. already prob harder, 64. She's ethnically from India. And she had worked for DARPA for decades, doing mind chip and implant in the brain, hook up to AI in the sky, hive mind, and take away human ability to be in contact with God. DARPA, transhumanism. That was her background. Then in 2022, she became the Science and Technology Advisor to the JB regime. And then in the fall of 2023, KH, currently U.S. Vice President, asked Dr. Probhalter to come up with a plan to put the C virus, pharma for the arm, into U.S. municipal water systems. Yeah, we can't get Americans to line up and get their pharma for the arm. We'll just put it in their water systems. So the plan, a 32-page plan dated October 3, 2023, came out with this. Okay, to get the pharma for the arm, that includes snake venom and also spike proteins into municipal water systems, is going to require, and they use as a model the Cleveland, or Dr. Prophammer did, Cleveland water system. To get these items into municipal water systems, they have to take their filter system down, down, down. So what if they get some E. coli and some other stuff? Oh well. So at any rate, she came up with the formula so that we need 1 gallon of the pharma per 1,000 gallons of water. And oh yeah, if you have a strong home filter system, it would also filter it out. But if you had no filter systems, and if the municipal water system dramatically dropped their filtering system, then theoretically an American or other person inside the U.S. after drinking 4 glasses of water would be inoculated. So yeah. So then, this came to the attention of the U.S. military and was reviewed by Vice Admiral Darcy E. Crandall, who then issued a military arrest warrant for Dr. Prabhakar Harder. She was arrested by Marine Reconnaissance Platoon at her home December 31, 2023. She's currently in custody of the U.S. military JAG section for interrogation. And she says her paper was only theory. She's not denying that she wrote it. And the charge against her is against a public official who plans to poison the U.S. population. That equals treason. And all of this was managed by Marine General Eric Smith. So yeah, that's going on. And now we'll look at some new information coming out about that ET incident at the mall in Miami, Florida. That was at the mall involving the ETs. Now, I submit that it was some type of practice. We had 200 police cars there. And new information is we also had the U.S. military, or that could have been something like the CIA or other government agencies. They had black helicopters there. Now, I submit to you, this took place about January 5, about 5 p.m. I submit to you, and I looked at the videos for these police cars all rushing there. But there were Black Hawk helicopters in the air above it also. This was coordinated. I submit it was a practice. Now, my perspective is it most likely was AI directed with that new information by Mike from around the world, that AI could use radio waves plus light to generate images. Well, Stephen Benoon with Israeli News Live doubles down on it was CERN, a CERN plan to open portals to bring in ETs. That's equally plausible. But my take still is primarily that whether this was AI-generated ETs or whether it was CERN opening portals with ETs going between dimensions, fading in and out, I submit, and the black helicopters also could have projected frequencies over this area to mind wipe individuals. I submit this was some type of coordinated plan, euphemistically called Project Bluebeam. Yeah, here's your ET, here's your Jesus. We got it right here. So that's going on. And now I'll do a short prayer. I'll distinguish between some of the terms in the prayer, and that is receivers and servers. Receivers are secret backdoors to software. And servers are the hardware, the way that we get our computer signals. So the prayer is based on Obadiah 1, Job 41, and Job 40. And the name of the prayer is Strike the Deceivers. We ask, Father, for your angels of AI technology to strike the deceivers of many colors embedded in servers up on earth. Let your words come to pass, O Father, and bring down Nest in the stars, and Leviathan in the deep oceans, and Behemoth in all sandy deserts. And we thank you, God the Father, God the Son, Jesus, whom many call Yeshua, and God the Holy Spirit. I say to my family and friends, remain steady out there. Continue to pray. God is in charge, and He is on the move. I love you, and I'll see you soon.